Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 10th anniversary edition of Adventures in Careerland. Hey everybody, this is the 10th time we've made an Adventures in Careerland podcast episode, so we're all very proud of that. I'm your host, I'm Adriano Magnifico. I'm the Career and Entrepreneurship Consultant in Riel School Division in Winnipeg, and I'm joined by my able compatriots, Isabella Soares, who's a student in the Broadcast Media program at the Arts and Tech Center, and Lily Chen, who's also a student in said program. This program is one of the gems among the 13 in the Riel Arts and Technology Center program. And my two students today have been producers of this podcast for a long time, for all 10 episodes. How exciting.
Yeah.
Isabella, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Oh, I'm always feeling like $1,000,000. So what's been going on in your week? We're in COVID land. We're all wearing our masks. How are you feeling?
That's true. I think I'm okay. Things have definitely been different this year compared to last year related to Christmas. Like I was in the supermarket yesterday and it was just so sad. There isn't decorations at all. There's only like the Christmas songs playing, but just that. So that's a little bit unfortunate.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Like they're putting plastic all over the Christmas decorations.
Exactly.
Like, oh my gosh, I think that's an essential tool at this time of year, but that's the way it goes. Lily, our dear Lily. Now Isabella's from Brazil. She's a young, I would say you are a Generation Z kid, young. Of course, Lily is young of heart and spirit, but she is a mom, right?
A tiger mom, right?
A tiger mom. We talk about her as the tiger mom. Lily's talking to her daughter right now, her teenage daughter, and trying to guide her and help her. And we joke with her that she's become the stereotypical tiger mom, but we know she's really a kitty cat.
Oh,
we know
thank you.
She's kind and helpful.
Yeah, I'm on my way.
So how's it going for you, Lily, right now in this COVID time around Christmas? And
I think I got used of the situation with all the masks and stay at home, and it's kind of isolated, right, from the world. But I also went to the market and I tried to find something, but okay, I got the roasted chicken at least.
Oh, yeah.
So they're still selling chickens. That's good.
Yeah.
Was it a live chicken like in China or no?
No, roasted. No way.
No way. Now, do they celebrate Christmas in Brazil? They celebrate Christmas, right?
Yes.
For sure. They celebrate Christmas in China?
For young generation, yes, they do.
Okay.
Yeah, they think, I think the young generation in China is like, I mean, the 80s and 90s.
Yes.
They all enjoy a lot about all these, Chinese people will say that Western festivals. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They almost celebrate all the festivals on the world that they can find,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're fun because we just party and then we wake up the next morning and wondered what happened. They're beautiful times. And anyway, our guest, thanks you guys, and our guest today is a young aspiring student whom I've gotten to know over the last 2 years because she's been involved in some programs that I've been running and putting together in the Riel School Division. This is Nikole Lando, and she is from Winnipeg, but super smart. She earned some scholarships and is studying at the Haskayne School of Business at the University of Calgary. She's a graduate from 2019. Nikole, welcome to our group today.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, we're super honored to have you on our podcast this time, and you're the 10th. You're the 10th person.
Yeah.
So if we could, we would have streamers, we'd have live chickens, we'd have all those things that make Lily and Isabella. I remember as a kid growing up, my dad in our garage, I was just a little kid, had live chickens.
Oh.
And this is true. They used to go down in the old days when there was. My grandpa told me this. when there was a new birth in a family, you always knew on the bus because someone went downtown in the North End, which was very ethnically diverse. They'd see them on the bus with a live chicken, and everyone would congratulate them. Oh, you had a little boy. They go, yeah, because they perceived that the chicken was really healthy, and it was for the mom to get better, and the chicken broth and the chicken soup was medicinal. And a nice treat for someone who's just had a baby. So people would get congratulated. Oh, you're a grandpa. You just had a little baby, because they had a live chicken on the bus.
Wow.
In China, it's like when there's a new member come to a family, the member will brought the boiled eggs and paint the eggs into red, and dispatch all these red eggs to all the neighborhood or relatives. Is a kind of good luck to
that's a
show
beautiful
to
thing.
everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, traditions are cool, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Awesome. Anyway, Nikole, enough about us. We could talk all day, and we have really nothing important to say to anyone. You're the important person here
Oh,
today.
no.
So, Nikole, tell us about, like, you are a student. This whole program is about students. It's about what kinds of decisions students make, why they make the decisions they make. So when we see a student who chooses education or has made calls, and certainly one with whom I've interacted and seen kind of the special gifts you had and how you maneuvered, I think that's really really a great gift to everyone when we share some of your story. We always start asking, so what was it like as a little kid? What kind of things as a little girl did you like to play or do that just filled your time, like you couldn't believe the time had gone so quickly?
You know what? I come from like a very hardworking family, I guess. We moved around, not a lot, but like we immigrated a lot like when we were younger, especially my parents. So I feel like a lot of time it was just spent like not like stressing necessarily. Like it was a good childhood, but it was always like that, like in the back of my mind that like, oh, like sort of have to help out in a way somehow, have to do this, that. I think a lot of times what I would spend doing is playing alone. That sounds sort of depressing, but I never had any siblings. At school, I guess I would like sometimes hang out, but then when I would go home, I used to love playing with like a teacups, and I would like make like a fake restaurant with like all my stuffies and like force my parents to come and play and like pretend that they're like eating my like fake food, and I would take it really seriously. It was a big passion of mine, to have like a restaurant and whatever, like or like a little shop. It would be McDonald's because when I was younger, when I used to like live in Israel, I have like a lot of family there, and we'd always go to like the McDonald's in the evening and like have like a nice walk and eat ice cream. So most of my little restaurants would be like these little McDonald type things.
Well, tell us, that's amazing. Tell us some of the places you've lived and some of the experiences in those places that you remember.
Ooh, I lived in Israel until I was about 6, I think. Like 2007, we moved here, and then from there we've basically just been like living in Winnipeg. And then in my last 2, I guess, years, I moved to Calgary, and there it's just been like move after move after move. I think in these 2 years alone, this is maybe our 5th, or my, I guess, 5th or 6th move, I think. So
what has that done to your mind about this sense of moving, in that you don't have to be in one place for a long time to feel? Like, what does home mean to you? You know what I mean?
That's hard because I don't know. I guess home is just like where like me, like my mom and my dogs are at like this point.
Yes.
Like I know like when we were moving a lot, like I'd never like really focused like on a set home as like it like being like a physical place. It was more of just like a mental or like emotional type of like state, because like I guess before even we moved to Calgary like that year in grade 12, it was a really like uncertain like period. I guess these last 2 years were, because I never knew like what would happen next. Like, would I be here my next month? Would I be somewhere else in the next month? Would I be, I don't know, in a different country the next month? Like I never really knew that. And so I guess just the feeling of like having my mom, my dogs around was just like, my comfort, my home, knowing that like I would be returning back home and like seeing them was just like my sense of comfort, I guess.
Oh, that's awesome. That was cool. Isabella,
Oh yeah, I think it's so interesting to hear about these experiences because I grew up in an international school. So many of of the students and classmates that studied with me, they also had the same background of like living in many places. So I really wanted to know from you, was it hard for you to identify yourself, like actually fit in each place that you were going to because you're never there for a long period of time?
I guess it was like we lived in Winnipeg for like a really long time. Like I think it was like 10 years. So I guess the move just like recently started like 2 years back. But I would say like it wasn't hard just because I had like people like even just here like friends in Winnipeg that I would always like reach out to. Like my one friend, I don't know if you remember her, Didula.
Yes,
She was
yes.
in SIP, and like for university, like when because it was really hard because a lot of people had like all their friend groups already from high school, and like they would come in knowing people, so it's sort of hard to fit in that way. Like when you're just sort of like this, I don't know, like new person, you don't really know anyone. So in that sense, it was really hard to fit in. And then the fact that I had like her like always here with me, like she'd be the first person I would text when I would wake up or go to sleep with. Like before I went to sleep, I would
Yes.
text her. And on the train, like when I'd be going to school, I would text her. Going back, like even in the libraries, like when we'd be walking the halls, like changing classes, like we would talk. Like it was like she was almost like there with me all the time, and it provided me like a huge sense of comfort just knowing that like that even though she
Yes.
wasn't like here physically with me, like she was just like always here. So that really helped me out.
Oh, that sounds like a pretty special friendship, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Now, you joined, it's interesting when you talked about you said SIP, but Nikole was part of a program at Windsor Park Collegiate called the Career Internship Program. That's a program I began way back in 1995 at River East Collegiate, and then changed divisions and brought that program to Windsor Park. And now it's ably run by Miss Allen, and it's
Mhm.
one of the many programs in the division that students can join for a more intensive career experience. It sounds like, though, you were attracted to that program. Is it reasonable to say you're attracted to that program because of your sense of always kind of looking for possibilities? Is that what that's
Yeah.
about?
I know at first, actually, this is sort of funny. I didn't want to join SIP because my mom, like when I would talk to her about it, she's like, well, why would you want to have like more of a workload? Like already, like I was studying a lot, like getting good grades was like a really big, like, it was really important to me just because I always wanted to like make sure like all my parents like sacrifices like were worthwhile and like that I would actually, sort of get the good grades, go to a good school and then, have a better life, I guess, in a sense. So like and so my mom didn't really want me going to SIP because there's a lot of volunteering, there was a lot of outside work to do, and it was seemed pretty stressful. So I went took normal English for first few days, and there was only 6 people in my class, and I thought that was terrifying because we also had to do participation marks. So every class you have to talk about 5 or 6 times, and then that would be like worth your mark. And that horrified me because back then, like grade 9, 10, 11, I was extremely shy before I went to SIP. Like I wouldn't talk at all. I would never raise my hand. I wouldn't like even doing something like this, like it would be impossible for me to do back then. And so I was scared of the thought that I would have to participate in front of 6 people. And so I thought, well, why don't I just join SIP where I would have like I think it was I had 4 or 5 friends in that class, and it was a bigger class, and apparently there was no participation marks. So I just did it out of that because I didn't want to participate. And then I mean, I guess I didn't know that I would actually be doing a lot of volunteering, a lot of public speaking, and like all of that. And
And a
so
lot of participation. That whole program's about
oh yeah,
participation.
oh yeah,
So
but
that,
it was good, and I really enjoyed that because now like what you said, I really did like the possibilities of like being involved in so many things, and the amount of opportunities that SIP like alone gave me in high school, and I feel like if I didn't join SIP, like I would have been like a completely different person, and I can say that like with confidence that like I don't even know like what I would be doing if I didn't go into SIP, honestly.
yeah, that's a great program, and there's a grade 11 and 12 version. It originates in the English class, and then it
Yeah.
just permeates into the community, and it really is about just what you've done. I love when you said I wouldn't be able to sit here and even do this podcast with you, because that's what it does. It just kind of it seeps into you, and just throws you into frying pans where you have to survive and do things, and you slowly
Yeah.
get stronger and stronger and stronger to the point where you're standing here or you're sitting there. Are you standing? I'm sitting.
Oh, I'm sitting.
Okay. We're all sitting here having this conversation, and really, we feel your confidence. We feel your sense of purpose now. And would you have even written those scholarship applications for
No,
the University of
probably not.
Calgary? No, that's what it connects you to. All those, it just helps you see what could be my path, and I'm going to try as much as I can and see what sticks to me. And we talk about it all the time as collecting the dots. You were collecting dots
Yeah.
again and again and again, and then started connecting them, which was so cool. That's really neat.
Thank you.
Hey, you know what? I remember you joined the Junior Achievement Program, which was another thing, right? It wasn't even in your school. You couldn't gather enough people in SIP, but Nelson Mack has its own version of SIP called the Imagine Program. And we were looking for some extra people, and you were one of the people who said, I will come from Windsor Park and join the Nelson Mack team, which in and of itself is a daunting thing for someone who says,
Oh, yeah.
I'm shy and didn't want to feel. How did you feel doing that?
I think at first it was definitely like, I guess Miss Allen. Miss Allen's an amazing like salesperson. Sometimes I feel like I don't know why she chose to be a teacher, because she's really good at like selling different programs, different opportunities, and
Yes.
she just made it seem so interesting. And I like the idea that I would be like an entrepreneur, I guess, getting to start like a business, I guess, like in a really low risk environment, because it wasn't like I was, actually starting it, putting like all my money, all my time in it. It was more of like it was an extracurricular, right? So it was pretty safe, but at the same time, like you really like felt what it was like to actually start your own business, because like you have to do like your business plan, you have to make like new ideas, you have to actually build a product and sell it. So I really liked that, and I thought, well, since I'm planning to go into business, why not do it, right? It'd be a good experience. And yeah, I just thought like when else will I get an opportunity like that? So I might as well just join. And I thought like, I don't know, the positives outweighed like any risks or any bad,
Yes,
things that
yes.
could have happened. And so I thought, like, why not do it? And then I would get to go and meet out like people meet people in new schools. They meet people and like network, I guess. And I don't know, I just thought it was a great opportunity. Like I didn't see anything wrong with it. So I was like, why wouldn't I do something like this? Like, why wouldn't anyone try?
Well, and that's an attitude that most students don't have, right? Like, that because you interact with many students. They follow the beaten path, and they just go down this single path. And you kept stepping off the path, opening a door, looking in, and sometimes stepping into the door and saying, I want to try this too. So that's what I loved about you. What I loved about you with the Junior Achievement when you did it, though, for whatever reason, you got voted in as the finance vice president of the company. The the great moment of that was you had no idea how to do the finances.
Yeah.
And I love
Yeah.
that. I totally, when I first realized you had no idea what you were doing, I looked to some of the other teachers and went, I don't think she understands this at all. But I love that you did it. I so love that you said, I'm going to try something I have no idea about. And talk about that experience, because that was such a learning thing for me. I love
Oh
it
yeah.
because it made me understand quickly that students need to try things they don't understand. They just need to throw themselves in there, and we need to support you. And at the beginning we were going, what is going on here? And then you slowly got the hang of it, right? Talk about that experience. I thought that was an eye opener for me, and certainly for you.
Yeah, I was really excited to like know that I would have like a specific opportunity to actually do something with finances, just because that's what I was planning to go into university. And I always thought, how on earth like am I gonna go into finance, have it as my major, when I don't have like any opportunities to actually go and do something with finance in high school? So when I heard about that, I was like, okay, I gotta do it. And then I remember for like the VP pitch in JA, like that one time, I was like, I practiced so much. Like I wrote out like a whole script like of what I'm gonna say, how I'm gonna like sell myself so people vote for me. And I think it was only me and Frankie, right? Only one other person who was going for the finance role. So it made me a bit more, excited, because it was like a 50-50 chance. And then I ended up getting it. So that was really exciting. But no, it was really nerve wracking when I actually realized what I'm doing, and the fact that like it's going to impact like everyone as a company if I mess up, if I do something wrong. And it was terrifying, especially when I went to the VP training, I talked to this one guy, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be such a great VP of finance because I'm like in an accounting course. I'm taking a business course in my high school." And I remember thinking, "Oh God, like I have no training in finance. Like I'm never taking a class. I don't even know what accounting is. Like I don't know where to start. I don't know anything." And yet I'm like in a room full of people who like are in accounting, are like in business courses, like in their high school. And I'm just going like, "Oh my God, like what did I get myself into?"
Oh, but I loved it,
But
Nikole.
it was a great opportunity. I learned a lot. I guess I really like dived headfirst into it, like doing the whole break even statements, like the what was it, this income statements, balance sheets. It
Well,
was really cool.
the
It was,
cost. You remember, to these, I'll throw a few terms at you because we were throwing these terms at you, and you thought she doesn't know what we're talking about. Accounts payable, accounts
oh
receivable,
yeah,
the balance sheet, the inventory, the cost of goods sold. Remember the COGS. Remember
yeah, yeah.
the expenses, the gross margins, the profit margins.
Oh yeah.
We were throwing these terms around, and you were just nodding, and it was such an eye opener about how much you learned and how much you were capable of learning. I have this philosophy about life where to do things you need skill and will, but you'll never do it without the will. And you had the will and you developed the skill. So I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah.
I think you can overcome anything when you have the will. And you had the will.
Oh,
So
definitely.
you just turned into this little accountant, which was just fantastic. I was so proud of you. And I thought that was one of the great moments
Thank
in
you.
my history of JA to remind me that when you have the will and the desire that you had, even with zero knowledge, you can move that mountain and you will become the accountant we need. Lily, what did you think of that?
Thank you.
Yeah, I just heard that Nicole said she has no any idea about the finance, but she want to get into this industry or get into this field. So how this idea came to your mind, like when you have no idea about what finance is?
I think it mostly stemmed from when I was a child. Anyone would ask me like what I wanted to be when I was older, I
Mm-hmm.
would say I wanted to be rich, and that was my only answer. So I was known as like the
That's
girl
a
who
great
wanted to be rich.
profession, by the way.
Yeah.
We're all
Yeah,
trying to get into that profession. It's a very
yeah.
difficult one, but
Yeah.
Well,
So
I
go
don't
on,
know
please.
why. Like I had like no idea of like what money was. I feel like at that age, but I just knew like I wanted to be
Mm-hmm.
rich. I don't know why, where it stemmed from, why I had that mentality, but I just wanted to do something that, I think maybe it wasn't necessarily like be like rich as like money wise, but just enjoy my job so much that I would, you know, get like I would just work, 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 and then it would also lead to like having like a good and like more stable type of like life.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess with that, my parents just always thought, like you should go into business because it's a pretty safe option. If you get a business degree, like you can do like so much things. You're not just like limited
Mm-hmm.
to only one
yes,
path,
yes.
and it's pretty safe. So I guess it was mostly that, and then the fact that my parents wanted me to do it,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought, well, my parents have sacrificed so much. They faced like a lot of challenges in their life getting me to where I am now. So I thought, well, I might as well just go into finance, right? Because it's what they want. It's a safe path, and then like I'm almost like saying like a big thank you in that way, and like
Mm-hmm.
becoming successful, to sort of like not like necessarily pay them back for everything they've done, but just like make them see like how far like they've actually come, and like that it wasn't just for like nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I felt like because I've always like had this like optimistic view, because I knew like whatever challenges they've done, like they've always persevered through them. So that means I would persevere through anything I would have. So it led me to being very optimistic. And my dreams were like very big like fantasies. They're very big dreams of like what I actually want to do with my career. And so I knew that if I were to succeed in like finance or something with business, I guess maybe I would do something that like I actually wanted to do, or like
Mm-hmm.
I guess dreamed of doing. Which I don't know if that is a really good answer, because I feel
No,
like
that's a brilliant answer
it's
because even your foray into this financial world, like how is that going for you now? Do you like it so far, or have you not
um
committed to that yet?
I've not done a finance class. I've done accounting in my first year, in
Mm-hmm.
the spring actually, because it was like a required course. But for finance, I think I'm gonna take that maybe this spring or maybe next year. I don't know. But I don't honestly. I don't even know what I'm doing right now. I've taken an HR class, and
Hmm.
I've really liked it. So
Hmm.
I feel like I'm just in business as like a general
Yes.
sort of like major right now. Like, and I don't know. I I feel like my life has changed so much, like even in this last year, that I don't like I can't even say like will I continue with finance? Will I go into science like I've always wanted to, or will I just be on a completely different path? Like I don't really know what
But
to
that's
say to
okay,
that.
Nicole. That's totally okay. And that's part of who you are. Like you are just so full of that will to try, to
Hmm.
iterate, to experiment, to figure out. That's a great place to be. And honestly, there's no rush, kid. There is none because you're still young and you have so much potential. You just got to keep on the path and keep seeing what sticks to you. And I love that you said HR because you absolutely have that personal quality that would make an HR person so successful. So you're learning many
Thank you.
things about, but you're learning many things about yourself. Continue to learn.
Mhm.
Isabella, you want to ask something?
Yeah, like I think it's so cool that you're into this business major, and business is that major in which you can just learn a little bit of everything and kind of figure out what you want to do with this major. So, from
Mhm.
all the experiences that you have in school or also in university, what has been the eye opener for you, and what have you learned the most from this experience in general?
I guess for just a university experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's not like an academic thing. It was more of just like a personal type of learning experience. It would be to like really deal with your stress, like any stress you have before starting something huge, like university or even going to like a new grade or I don't know, starting a new job or just anything in life, right? Is to like deal with your stress and like not carry it, I guess. I would say, I guess Russian people very individual. Oh my god, I can't speak. Like they're very kind of in. Yeah, I'm
That's
not even
okay.
gonna try to say that word. I don't
That's
know why
okay.
I'm stumbling today, but just it's. I was always taught like if you have any stress, like you should deal with it yourself. Like it's not something that you really go out for help to do. It's like because it's your stress, so you deal with it. And I guess with that mentality, I've always just pushed it away. Like I was like, okay, well, I have to deal with this, but I'll try to deal with it and I'll just push it back. Like it'll resolve on its own. And like I'm realizing now, especially in my first year, that it really comes back to bite you. Like it really comes back. And the stress is not something that, should be really like extended in a long period of time because even like what I've learned in like SOCI and even in my HR class, like stress can have like really like negative effects on you, like your body, like your physical, emotional, mental state. And so like you really have to deal with it before you go. And I know that stress has really impacted like my studies, just daily life things like my time management, my productivity. And so what I've learned is like that, like what, if you have like a stressful situation, like, you should really like, face it before you move on. And like you shouldn't like just leave it because yeah,
Wow.
it can really affect you in the
Wow. You're
future.
wise beyond your years. So what do you do when you feel stressed? What are some things you do to relieve some of your stress so that you can be more productive?
I'm still figuring out the answer to that question because I'm sort of going through something like that right now. And I mean, who isn't? The times are like extremely weird right now. And I think generally what I do is I like let myself breathe for a bit. Like if I'm really stressed out, like I'll give myself maybe like up to a day sometimes, like depending on what the situation is, to just sort of like relax and just think about it and like really like let out my emotions. If it's something that's like really like bad, I'll like, get angry, get sad, and I feel like that works really well. But I only like do it for like a couple of I don't know, maybe an hour, maybe a day, and then I stop and I think, okay, well, well, what's the worst that can happen? Like I'm still good. Like I'm not like my life hasn't ended. Like I'm not. Like I
Yeah,
always try
yeah,
to be
yeah.
optimistic because, like, I mean, just I guess I look back like on what my parents have went through, and I've known like their experience was like a thousand times worse than mine. I guess like growing up,
Hmm.
and like now they're here. Now they're like living much better. They're in much better circumstances. Like they're happy. So I just know that for myself too. Like I will like I will persevere through it. Like and I guess I sort of just start tackling it anyway. Like I'll try to overcoming it like doing one way, and then I'll do something else to try to overcome it. I guess you
See,
know.
that's a neat way you're talking about. So sometimes when you have the thing to do and it's stressing you, you just dive into it and
Yeah.
work at it. And that's a great point because sometimes kids look at things, especially high school kids look at things and it's too daunting, it's too big. When you dive into it and start getting parts of it done. There's a certain level of satisfaction and accomplishment when you create those things. Does your That's really smart. You're wise. Is there any role your dog plays in your stress?
My dog, I guess, yeah, like I have two puppies. They're not really puppies. I've got a Maltese and a poodle.
Oh,
And I
beautiful.
guess I love to walk them. Like
Yes.
especially now, like me and my mom often go for like walks with our dogs together, and it's really nice to just like the time I take where I don't stress out. Like I know a lot of people do like when they take like a shower like before going to bed, but I find when you do stuff like that, it's like you're really focused on like yourself, like you're really alone with your thoughts. But then when I like walk my dogs, it's like I have to focus both on myself and then my dog, like what they're doing. If they're eating
Yes.
something on the ground that they shouldn't be eating, I've got to watch for like I'm
Yes.
crossing the street. I've got to watch for cars. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. Clean up after them. And it just like provides me with like a space where I can just like sort of like take time for myself and like not really worry about the stress, I
Yes.
guess.
Yes.
So they play an important part that way because I know that like this like 20, 30 minutes is just a time for like myself and my dog. And it's like
Yes.
I don't want to include my dog in my stress, obviously. Like they don't really know what to do. So I always have to be like really not like positive, but I can't be like negative. If
Yeah,
you,
of course,
I don't know
of
how to
course.
explain
No,
that.
I get it. I've got two dogs. And let me guess, your dogs see you, their tails wag like crazy. They can't wait to
Yeah.
see you. They make you feel like $1 million. And they can't wait for you to take them out and be a part of their world.
Oh,
I think
definitely,
I
yes.
think that takes away some stress sometimes. And when you walk out, I know when I take my dogs out, it's a complete, total change of thinking. My mind empties
Oh,
when
definitely.
I walk along nature paths too, like along rivers and stuff like that with the dogs. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, you've got some built-in stress managers. That's pretty cool about
Yeah, definitely.
getting to work. I think it comes down back to some of that will you have. You have this will to succeed, and you have this precedence from your parents, and you just want to make them proud, but you want to make yourself proud, and you want to do what's right
Yeah.
for you. I think you're on the right path. You're still young.
Oh,
You're
thank
still
you.
playing. I think you're on the right path. You're still playing with all the possibilities. So it's kind of neat. Hey, tell me, I'm interested when you got those scholarships, because Lily, who is our resident tiger mom here, is thinking about how can my daughter get money to go to university. When one of the things in SIP, the career internship program, was scholarships are very prominent in that program about ones to go for. And I've helped students win some of the big ones, the Loran Scholarship, Schulich Scholarships, the University of Manitoba Future Leader Scholarships. So those are front and center for me. And I help students try to win those. And we have won a number of them in the last few years. What was going through your head when you were when you're writing your scholarship applications? What advice would you give to someone who's looking for money to go to school?
I would say, like getting the experience, I guess, that you can like really talk about in the scholarship applications because a lot of them ask questions like, I know for mine it was, what did you do to get involved in your community? And then I think it was, how would you bring that like to the university? And then the other one was, it was just a university-based question, like, why would you pick our university? So I would say, like, it's high school, it's like 4 years, right? And it's like they go by so fast. I didn't think that at first, but then I realized that, like, oh, like it flies by. So I think, Lily, you said your daughter's in grade 10, right?
Yeah, grade 10.
So she's got like plenty of time. I feel like I only started being involved in my community in 11th grade.
Okay.
So it was, I was always scared that I wouldn't, have enough time to do it. But like you really can because I feel like high school is such a, like you really have to get the good grades in your grade 12 courses, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if you're bombing grade 9, 10, 11, like it may like impact you. But at the same time, like if you get like it together in grade 12, I feel like you can really achieve a lot. And then, so I feel like it shouldn't like a lot of kids do worry about their grades, and like
Mm-hmm.
it's a really big thing, I guess, like to actually go into the university. But I feel like now, especially like, with programs like SIP and like the Imagine program that really like focus on like
Mm-hmm.
volunteer opportunities, getting you out in the community, like
Mm-hmm.
those are like extremely important for actually getting the scholarships because the universities really look for people who are going to come and like make a difference like in their university, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like getting those like opportunities outside of school, like high school, like any way you can help out in the community are like essential, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know what? That's very important. What I'm interested in is what volunteer work did you do that
Oh,
made a big difference to
um,
you and that made a big difference to the scholarship adjudicators? Because that's what Lily wants to know. Because the minute you say what they were, her kids are going to be registered for that thing an hour after this podcast.
I would say, I guess just things like JA would be really good, where you're sort of, I don't know, like
JA is junior
I'm in
achievement.
business, so
That's junior
junior
achievement.
achievement, yes.
Now,
Yeah.
did they ask, you use that, the JA experience is huge because of the problem solving components. And because when we did JA, we made a serious commitment to
Yeah.
nonprofit organizations such as the Children's Hospital Foundation. And I remember Bookmates we did one year, and Make-A-Wish Foundation, those kinds of things.
I guess like I would say it's a relevant experience to like what you want to go into. But then I just mean I guess anything that like where you get to work with people, like teamwork is a really big thing I would say for everybody, communication, just where you get to really apply like those experiences that you don't necessarily learn in high school. So like I guess being like maybe like empathetic, communication, group work, just stuff like that I would say they really look forward to. Like even if you volunteer at somewhere like a hospital, you know, you can really talk about how that shaped you as a person, because if you have to probably help like do like nursing tasks or something, but then you also have to interact with a lot of people. You have to really be on top of your time, you know. So stuff like that is really important. I would say probably getting involved in the community as well. Like I did a lot of things with like Frontenac and General Vanier, where I got to help the schools just like facilitate activities, got to help like the little kids like, you know, go through their
Those are
little
elementary
games and
schools in the neighborhood.
yeah, and then even like helping with like runs and like races, sort of stuff like that. I feel like is really important too, because then they see that you know you're actually trying to get out, you're trying to help people, help your community, and because those activities really rely on you being like really like positive and engaged and helping people you know engage and have a good time. So I feel like that's also really important because it shows that you're like you care, I guess, and that you're also going to bring that type of attitude to the university. So just anything that you can go out and you know help people with, help elevate spirits, work with people. I feel like those are really important, and even just small volunteering tasks. I feel like helping tutor someone. I feel like even that's important. Anything where you just get to
Yes.
go out and do something you love. I think the most important thing is it's not just like volunteering and like doing it for the sake of you know having it as like a resume, like a point or writing about it. I think it's more of just like your passion, because they can really tell what you're passionate about and what you're doing just for like you know the sake of doing it. So if you can
Yeah,
include that
you know,
into it, then that's like
yes.
brilliant.
I think you're right, Nicole. I think you have to do it with a heartfelt attitude about really wanting to serve others. And when adjudicators or adults who are interested in your applications for whatever you're doing, jobs, scholarships, whatever they are, they're looking for your character. They're looking to see what kind of person you are. And what I'd always say to a high school student is going back to your old elementary school is a great experience, because your old
Oh
teachers
yeah.
will love to see you. And there's nothing like reading with a student who has trouble reading. There's nothing like that. And the life affirmation that comes for that will likely build a lifetime of volunteer work. And when students
Oh
get
yeah.
involved, they get hooked. You know, like, and I've hooked students into many different organizations, Children's Museum, Special Olympics Manitoba, Bookmates, where you are serving and making an impact on families and youth. When students do that, it changes their lives.
Oh definitely.
I've worked with Special Olympics or volunteered with them for over 20 years, and I brought many students into it. And it's funny, I haven't been to a Special Olympics event in a few years, but when I go to the events, I see my old students there from 15 years ago still volunteering. And it's just a heartwarming feeling to see students continuing to make a difference in the community. So I applaud you
Yeah,
for doing that.
definitely.
And it does make your application stronger. By the way, it also makes your application a lot stronger. And when you can speak about it, when it comes in terms of character and the energy and the passionate feeling you have toward it, that makes your application very, very strong. And you
Yeah,
also need to be a good
definitely.
academic. You're a good academic kid. How are your marks in
Yeah.
university? They different than high school?
Well, in high school, I finished very well, and now they're definitely not as strong because in my first year, like what I talked about before, I was really stressed out. Like it was a really new environment and very like uncertain times. Just like I didn't really know like what I was doing in Calgary, if I would be in Calgary, if I'd be transferring over. So it definitely took a toll on my marks. But now, I guess I'm back sort of at it again. Like I'm getting pretty good marks. I'm
Good,
more
good.
confident like with what I'm doing with my studies, and I've sort of learned like the ways. Like I guess I've developed my study habits slightly more. Still not perfect, like not even close to being perfect. But yeah, no, I guess it's just getting the hang of it. First year university is it's really tough. It's really tough. I would say like comparing it to high school, like the type of notes we had, the type of notes we took, like it's so different. Like no one really
Of
cares
course.
about you there. No one is like looking out like, are you doing well? Are you doing good? Like if you're failing the class, like that's your problem. No teacher is gonna come up to you and be like, hey, like you're failing, like let me help you. Like they don't care about that. You know what I mean? Like profs are nice, but it's your academics, like you're paying to be here, so it's like it's all on you. And I feel like that type of mentality is really hard, and it can definitely push some students like away and like to drop out, which is really unfortunate the way
Yes,
it's built like
yes,
that because a lot of people do come in with like a passion, and then they're just so like swamped with the work and just like the expectations that university and
yes,
college and
yes.
anything puts on you, and it's unfortunate, but like
Well, you
you
keep
really have to get through
persevering.
that first year.
Yes,
Yeah, you have to, and
you have to keep
it's strong.
persevering.
It's hard.
You
It's
know what,
difficult. I
Nicole?
feel like.
Nicole, you've been so honest and forthright with us about how you feel and about how you're tackling these new experiences that you're taking on. I think that when students are going to hear this, they're going to feel like, hey, I feel that way, and I feel like a kindred spirit. But your message is
Hmm.
persevere, find ways to
Yeah,
alleviate some of your stress, and dig into your work and turn it into something that affirms you instead of stresses you. And that's
hmm,
that's a really powerful message for youth because sometimes we can just get overwhelmed by everything.
oh
I
yeah,
think,
definitely.
yeah, and I think you're doing great. Do you guys have anything, Lily and Isabella? Anything? Any final thoughts?
Yeah. I just have a word to say to Nicole is because I have some we both of us have some same experience because I start my college with business and then I join my career in HR. So I find out
Hmm.
that finance is really a useful part, not only skill but also a way of thinking. They help you
Hmm.
not only on your career but also in your life. That's very important part. So I'm very glad that you are interested in finance, and I think I suggest you to keep your way of thinking of finance and learn willing
Thank
of
you.
the learning of finance. You will find that no matter what kind of career you choose in future, finance will help you a lot. That's
Oh,
really a
thank
helpful
you.
part. Yeah.
Thanks, Mom. That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah.
No, but it will. Finances, and I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs where they always mess up is on finances.
Hmm.
So no matter what you
Oh
do,
yeah.
if you major or minor in finance, even in HR, you can take those courses. It
Hmm.
will make you a much more valuable team player at any workplace when you
Yes.
have a financial background.
Hmm.
So keep the perseverance. Isabella, any final thoughts?
Yeah.
Oh, I just think that it was really amazing to talk to you and just hear about your experience volunteering as well. I think it's valuable for each person that is listening to this podcast to know that volunteering to your community is something so special, and it isn't about, getting a scholarship or anything like that. It's basically
Hmm.
you being willing to help out and give back to the community that literally helped you out become the person that you are. So I think it's really valuable what you had to say, and I look forward to see
Thank you.
what's in your path and what's going to happen for you.
Well
Thank you so
stated, you
much.
two. Well done. Nicole, any last thoughts? What advice would you give to a high school student? You sat
I
there.
would say. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, you sat in those desks where they were. Now you're gone. What would you say to some of them?
I would say, just keep doing what you want to do, and then don't feel pressure to like volunteer, and be out in your community. Like I know for some people, um, I guess I'll do an example for myself, because I did so much work like in Windsor Park, like in grade 11 and 12. I felt like that pressure had to go on into my university life, and then so when I moved to like a new city, I had like the new educational like sort of path and everything. It was really overwhelming, and then I took on a lot of clubs and opportunities that I like couldn't handle, and so halfway through I had to drop a lot because I wasn't able to keep up with everything, and it was a really big toll on me. So I would say, although like it's really important to volunteer and get active into the community, and that's really stressed. Like people always say, you have to get involved in clubs in university. You got to do this, you got to do that, you got to get an internship, you got to go to co-op, you have to, join anything you can. I would say like definitely hold off on it if you don't feel ready, and only do it when you do feel ready, because that's when you're going to be the most passionate for it. That's when you're going to be like loving the experience, I guess. So even if, I don't know, if you want to volunteer but you feel sort of swamped, even if you feel a bit down for it, like I would say just wait until it's the right moment. And yeah,
Well
that's what I'd
said.
say.
Well said. Nikole, it's been a pleasure with you
Thank you.
on our 10th anniversary podcast. The old music's there. And honestly, you're a delight. I think something good's going to happen to you. I think your combination of
thank you.
skill and will keep you in good stead. And I urge you to continue to look out for yourself, take care of yourself, and dig
Thank you.
into that coursework. It's just going to make you smart. That knowledge, and think about and reflect on all that coursework. And I know Lily wants you to be a finance person. I think you'll be a stronger HR person. Isabella, what do you see here?
I think you're going to be a great HR person, actually. I think you have this whole
you.
thing about giving back and just caring for what people around you think about. And I think this is really, really important for any person that's joining that career.
All right,
Thank
so
you so much.
we hear the music. Nikole, thanks so much for being a part of our team
Thank
today.
you so much.
Thank you
You're-
for inviting me.
Oh, it was our pleasure, and I think you're going to inspire some students on our 10th anniversary podcast. That's it.
All right.
Adventures in Careerland
Thank you.
has ended. It's
Yeah.
10
Thank
podcasts.
you.
Thank you to Lily, and thank you to Isabella, and especially thank you to Nikole for being a part and for being our guest today. We'll see you next week.